One of the many questions that bother me these days is the question, should America be spiritually so blind and stupid? Why do I raise this question? I do so because of what's called Make America Great Again movement, the mega if you like, movement, spearheaded by none other than Donald Trump, of the famous detergent solution to the COVID problem, when the supreme wisdom of the President of America, POTUS, opined that the pandemic could be brought under control by either making people consume detergents or injecting them with the same. Only the President of the United States of America could have pronounced such colossal stupidities and got away with it. But what struck me even more acutely, and what is certainly spiritually more significant and disturbing, is the sudden impulsive visit that Trump undertook to St. Thomas Church, which was close to the White House, when Black Lives Matters movement reached its peak, and he seemed to be on shaky grounds. He played the usual communal card. He made an impromptu visit to the church and borrowed a Bible from somebody who was standing nearby, and had a photo op, and the photograph was then splashed throughout America, to prove that Donald Trump was indeed a spiritually sensitive person. After all, he represents mainly the evangelical constituency in the United States. There are many Christians who ardently believe that if Donald Trump becomes the President of the United States, then the future of Christianity globally is safe. That God himself can heave a sigh of relief if Donald Trump becomes the champion and the promoter of Christianity. Let me only focus our attention on one particular issue to illustrate the alarming stupidity that's at play here. All of you will remember Donald Trump's recent statement that when he becomes the President of the United States once again, he would even encourage Putin to attack members of the NATO alliance on the ground that they don't pay up. Donald Trump's outlook on NATO and how he views the American dollar being expended on enhancing the security of NATO members, these are all plain, obvious, and widely known. What bothers me is not that under President or former President Trump's leadership, which is likely to repeat itself, America has a certain notion of what it means to be great. That's the only thing that bothers me. I can understand that a country would want to save its resources in order to enhance the welfare of its own citizens rather than spend it on promoting global security, etc. I can understand it to a certain extent, but even there I have a problem which I shall try and explain in a short while. What really bothers me is the understanding of greatness that Donald Trump and his millions of supporters, who are all ardent Christians, it would so seem, entertain about the idea of greatness. What does it mean to be great? If you go by what Donald Trump says, greatness is equal to selfishness. You promote your interests and you are safe. So according to Donald Trump's vision, America should bother only about itself, or America should get involved with global affairs only to the extent of being able to promote its own interest. In other words, his idea of greatness, and the idea of greatness subscribed to by his millions of followers, seems to exclude every altruistic intention, responsibility, and undertaking. To be great is to protect your own backside, to save your own skin, to increase your own comfort and luxury no matter what happens to the world. Whether the world goes to the dogs or dogs come to the world does not matter. Americans must have a good time, and American resources must not be spent on improving or safeguarding the human condition anywhere else in the world. That's the essence of greatness as far as Trump's vision is concerned. And it alarms me that it finds ready acceptance and endorsement by so many Americans, and especially from the Bible Belt. Nobody, unfortunately, and this really worries me and surprises me, sometimes it shocks me that American Christians have become so calloused, so insensitive, so blind, that they are not able to see the glaring incompatibility between this so-called evangelical vision of American greatness and the teachings of Jesus Christ. Jesus said that self-denial is the bottom line of spirituality. Now, people don't really understand the tremendous practical wisdom contained in self-denial. I'll give you only one particular insight, because I don't want this video to be too long, because I intend this to be mainly for the youth of America and the youth of the world, including India. And young people these days are saddled with a lot of things, and therefore I cannot presume on their patience and their time. What happens when a country like America becomes selfish? Selfishness makes you focused on yourself or self-absorbed. And therefore, selfishness actually weakens and in many instances cuts off or severs your connection with the rest of the world. Now, take the idea of America being great. Now, obviously it means that America is recognized as great not merely by Americans, but also by the global community. America is great in the global village. And then you say that we'll make America great again by neglecting the global village, by relinquishing or abandoning all responsibilities concerning the global village. The greatness of America must be recognized and eulogized by all people at the same time. America will not be concerned about the rest of the world, because that's the best way to enlarge, to engorge, to inflate American welfare. Now, this is a terrible mistake. Surely anyone who knows how America has developed so far would also know that American wealth is not entirely due to the hard work of Americans. Yes, Americans work very hard. They're people of great genius. But America has become a country of genius also because it has attracted geniuses from the four corners of the world. America is a salad bowl. So, America would not have been half as great as it is, half as affluent as it is, half as powerful as it is, but for the rest of the world. And one interesting aspect of the American foreign policy is that at least from the Second World War onwards, America has emerged richer and more powerful from every war in the world, or almost every war in the world. So making war overseas is also an economic policy for the United States. Now, that's of course a negative aspect of being involved in the global arena. But I do believe that if you're a Christian nation and if you claim to be great, from a spiritual point of view as well, as against being great in the military sense of the term, then it is necessary to understand what greatness entails. Selfishness can never be equated with greatness. Selfishness can serve only to reduce you in your stature. Yeah, it is the selfishness of a people that makes them behave stupidly. I can understand that Donald Trump is entirely consistent in all his pronouncements, because it is that very consistency which makes him believe, or made him believe, that by consuming detergents, individuals could rid themselves of the COVID infection. That stupidity and this idea of greatness built entirely on selfishness and self-centeredness is entirely consistent. The two are two sides of the same coin. So it is the selfish version of American greatness which will not stand the scrutiny either of time or of common sense. But unfortunately, hardly anyone in the United States, including the Democrats, the many think tanks, bother to call the bluff. They try to checkmate the antagonists of Trump, try to checkmate Trump electorally. But they don't question him ideologically, they don't question him spiritually, they don't question him in terms of the assumptions and presuppositions which presumably are borrowed from the Bible or the Christian tradition of thinking, but really have nothing to do with it. In fact, if anything, all of them are completely contrary to the spiritual vision of Jesus Christ. So if Donald Trump is a Christian, then it is a Christianity that I am completely unfamiliar with. It's some other kind of Christianity, and Donald Trump has a duty to explain his brand of Christianity to the rest of the world, for the sake of innocent and naive people like me. So to the young people of the United States, no matter what party affiliations they have, I have an appeal. Please be vigilant. Do not be swamped by the propagandist blitzkriegs to which you are subjected from time to time. And I address the youth of America in particular for the reason that when young people grow up within a cultural framework or a cultural matrix, they run the risk of imbibing these assumptions as normal. What is abnormal would then be taken for the normal. And once these abnormal presuppositions and assumptions are imbibed, they get lodged within, that they serve as the control boxes of reality. And therefore, young people run the risk of having their thinking apparatus crippled for life, and that's a terrible thing. So if a whole generation of young people grow up assuming that to be great is to be selfish, then it has serious consequences not only for America, but given the extreme and excessive preeminence that America has in a unipolar world. This is an issue of global significance, and there's a reason why it strikes me as something that I cannot and should not overlook. So as someone who has bothered to understand the basics of the teachings of Jesus Christ and his vision for the world, which includes also the political life of all people and peoples all over the world, I have to say that there is a terrible danger confronting first the United States of America. If this path is followed, America will be anything but great. Please remember the founders of the American vision, the American nation, from the Pilgrim Fathers onwards, envisaged America to be a city founded on a hill. It's founded on a hill because it's meant to give light to the whole world. And therefore, globality is part of the inception of the nation of the United States of America. And for that nation then to think of its greatness as merely self-centeredness is to contradict itself, even in terms of the very seed, the very foundation, the very essence of its existence. And it surprises me no end that people, thinkers, especially spiritual thinkers, Christian thinkers in the United States, remain either totally ignorant of this or are deliberately unmindful of this. Either way, it's a terrible dereliction of duty. I have great expectation of and faith in young people, the goodness of their intentions and their freedom of spirit. And therefore I appeal to them to wake up to the terrible danger on the brink of which the nation today stands, the United States of America, I mean, and through that the rest of the world. After all, in the globalized world, whatever happens to the United States happens to the rest of the world as well, hence my concerns. So, this movement, Make America Great Again, is a terrible thing because it's built on, it's erected or established on an idea of greatness that's anything but great. It's an assured path that leads to self-demeaning, to American isolationism, and the eventual degradation of the soul of America, which will be not only a tragedy nationally, but also a global tragedy. Thank you for your kind attention.